to ask it again, and there might be some people here that need to know. But my mom committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think if you commit suicide, you're going to hell, that's it. I know she's in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Did she know the Lord?
Yes.
Okay. I absolutely can answer that. And actually, that's one of the things that Father's been talking to me about. I knew in my second book there'll be a whole chapter on it, and it's going to be called The Truth About Suicide. And the Father says, I'm going to tell my people the way I look at it. And number one, not every death they consider suicide. And there is a big difference, a huge difference. Suicide, the definition is the taking of one's life. In other words, when you commit suicide, and that's what I said, they don't call everybody ending suffering suicide in heaven. They look at it like an illness. But if you take your life, that is when you willingly, knowingly end your life. Most people who commit suicide to end their life on purpose do it out of vengeance, out of spite, to harm others, and people really do that. You left me, you hurt me, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I will show you. I'll make you suffer the rest of your life. I'll just kill myself. Okay, that person was in their right mind. They knew what they were doing. That is suicide. Or I'm going to strap bombs to myself, and I'm going to go and kill all these people. I know my life will end, but that doesn't matter. I'm doing it for a good thing. That's suicide. Okay, someone who is like, I don't care about living here anymore. I'm just going to go on to, and people actually say this, I'm just going to go on to hell because I don't want to be here where God is. I mean, people think that in their mind. So I'm just going to end it all, and I don't care. Okay, that person knew exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it. That is suicide. People, especially if they were believers and went through an emotional, physical, or mental trauma to the point where they were no longer in control of their own mind or their thinking, all they knew was that they were suffering and they could no longer bear the suffering. They didn't take their life to end their life. They were ending the suffering they were going. This is the Father's words to me, because I didn't know how to explain it to people. But He'd already shown me 3 people in heaven that had ended their life. And I went, how do I tell your people? He goes, you will tell my people, because so many of them are grieving and their family members are here with me. And he said they didn't take their life on purpose to hurt someone. They weren't in their right mind either. And he showed me a prophet's son. I won't give his name. I don't have permission yet. I'm praying he'll give me permission. He ended his suffering. He knew God, loved God, and his father served God all over the world. All over the world, and yet he ended his life. He was in a terrible accident. He was on this medication that they said he had to take, and he had horrible reactions from it, to the point where his mind was not normal, and he would actually cry out, God, I got to have you. God, I got to have you. I can't stand this suffering. I can't stand this suffering. And he even told his parents, I just got to go to God. I got to go to God. And he went into deliverance ministry, and they prayed over him, and it was like they did everything that they knew to do. And he would just be okay for a while, and then he'd go, I can't stand this. But the medication, in other words, if they hadn't given it to him, he would have died. And they probably should have let him die. And in that case, probably would have been better for him, because he suffered so much. And he was just telling his parents, I can't stay here. I got to go to Jesus. I can't stay here. I got to go to Jesus. And he went. And God showed me this young man in his Father's mansion in heaven. I saw details, and he showed me this. He showed me a trophy, because this man and his wife loved this son, and he was being raised up to be a man of God. And when I went into this, he showed me this prophet's home in heaven, which was phenomenal. And I went into this huge room, which had a big fireplace. By the way, if you like them, you get them too. And this big mantle, and there was a trophy, a beautiful trophy. And he had me go up and read the trophy. And it said, victory over, and it had the young man's name on it, and under it, it said Satan 0, and then it had the prophet's name, and it said 1. And he wanted me to let this prophet and his wife know that his son was in heaven. Satan did not get him as a trophy, because he ended his suffering that he could no longer bear to be in that situation. God doesn't call that suicide. That he says he ended his suffering, and I look at it like a cancer. Did they ask for that cancer? No. Did they do everything that they could to end that cancer that was destroying their life and taking their life? He said, I look at that as like an illness or a disease that took that person's life, because they didn't take their life to purposely end it. So he doesn't call it suicide. He calls it that they ended their suffering. So there are many people, wonderful, amazing Christians in heaven, that ended their suffering, but they did not purposely, knowingly, in their own right mind, take their life. And I think that's a wonderful way to explain it. I don't know what y'all think, but I think that is a wonderful way to tell people about it. But if they knew the Lord, they are not in hell. He said, I wouldn't be a righteous God. Because if someone had cancer and died from that cancer, they didn't cause it. They tried everything they could do to prevent it, but it ended their living on this earth. So, yeah, people don't go to hell when they do that.
I'd like to know about the different languages in heaven, the heavenly languages. If we speak as, I know as humans how we communicate, but as spirit beings, do we just commune with our heart, or how does that go?
There's a lot of ways to communicate in heaven. You still use your mouth lots of times. Most people just talk to each other down here like they do down here, but you actually can communicate with your thoughts. I mean, you can be in a room with people, and it isn't necessarily they can hear everybody's thoughts, but if you're communicating with somebody, like if I sat in here and decided I wanted to talk to her, I could just think what I wanted to say, and she would just answer me. They do that all the time in heaven. You can do that all the time, and it doesn't matter what languages you spoke down here. You understand everybody. And let me tell you, when you get to heaven, everybody does not speak the English language, okay, y'all? Stop thinking that you're so privileged. And the other thing is this. Some people think when you go to heaven, you're all white, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. God created everybody different. It says every tribe, tongue, and nation is represented in heaven. And so, yes, everybody's still different up there, and you're known as you're known. And there are heavenly languages that you use when you get to heaven. And it's all done in unison. It's beautiful in the throne room when people just start in unison, start praising or speaking in a heavenly language. Tongues are a part of that down here on this earth. A lot of tongues are different nations' tongues that we're speaking. And I know if I'm speaking sometimes in Korean, I have an African dialect I pray in sometimes. I recognize, not that I can speak those languages, but the French language. I recognize words, and I know that I'm praying in those languages, but sometimes I pray in a language I've never heard before, and it's very divine. Those are the tongues of angels. And so we can do some of that here, but up there you all have the ability to speak in those tongues. It's beautiful. Yes, there's a place in heaven you can go to. It's called Hall of the Nations, and you go into this amazing place, and it's a lot of fun. You stand on this platform, and there's this thing on the wall you pass your hand over, and this beautiful light comes over that totally engulfs all of your being. And when you look in this huge monitor, you see yourself if you've been born into a different ethnic group. And I saw myself as an Aborigine, which was really funny for me because I looked like one, but my eyes were the same. And you know it's yours, but I mean, I had all the features that they had, and you just giggle and laugh the whole time. The amazing thing is this: when you look down at yourself in the light, you look like that. And you can feel your skin, and it feels different, and your hands look different. If you stuck it out of the light, that part of you would be normal. But as long as you're in this light that transforms your looks, you look like what you would have been. And then you run from one to one because you don't know what it's going to be until you pass it over. And you hear everybody laughing going down these lists. And I went to about 7 or 8 of them. That's all they let me do. But I loved it. Sometimes you would be in the native costume, which I thought was a lot of fun. And when I was the Irish person, I actually had bagpipes. I've never played them here. But I had the little kilt thing. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
My name is Melody, and I want to thank you for having this session because something has happened here for me. And until last night, I thought there was something wrong with me. And this morning, you said that when you go to heaven, you don't move around, and you're basically glued to one spot.
And my body's just really still. My body's still here on earth.
And you see, I thought there was something wrong with me because I have the same problem. When God takes me to heaven, I just end up standing there staring and looking at what's going on around me. And I don't have an opportunity to even ask questions sometimes. But I can't move my feet, so I'm kind of, I was